So you're welcome, Um, Mr. Menu, to Gloma TV.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
First of all, let me ask this: Do you think do you believe that as Africans, um, we are the right people, and we and only we are the people that can that can write our story and write it very well?
Um, good evening to your good self and your viewers and listeners.
Nice one.
Um, well, it is said that until the lion tells the tale of the jungle, a hunter will always have his own way of telling the story of the hunt. And so, if our story is to be told, then none but ourselves can tell it better.
Nice one.
Of course, others can tell it, but that will be for their good. But if it should be for our good as Africans, then it is we as Africans who must endeavor to tell our story however we will to the world.
Thank you very much. Nice, very nice one day. Today, on a series that we have entitled Time with Black Paradise. Today, this is our first episode, and we actually want to take the opportunity to discuss Ghana's independence, the independence of Ghana, and how it was able to influence um, the independence of other African countries. Mr. Menu, please take a minute or two to tell us what Black Paradise is and what it stands for.
Well, Black Paradise started as a Pan-African movement, I would say, with the name way back in 2010. The idea was given birth to way back in 2010 to be a Pan-African movement which seeks to educate and empower young Africans into the real knowledge of Africa as it was and as we will it to be. So basically, it's education and empowerment.
Sure.
It was registered in 2015, and so far it has become Pan-African in nature, such that branches have been. In fact, Ghana happens to be the seat as the HQ. We have managed to establish branches in Sierra Leone, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Kenya, and such other places.
Great.
And as it stands now, we are focusing on the education part. I mean, preaching Pan-Africanism and what Africa stands for, the power Africa holds, and the royalty of the African. That is what we seek to project. And I mean, overall, the image of Africa as in the good light. So that is what we've been up to as at this time. The next step is the establishment of enterprises, as in to empower ourselves financially to be self-sufficient and to support other projects such as education and all of that. So basically, that is what Black Paradise is about.
Right. So if I best understand you, it means even though it was given birth in Ghana, the idea behind it is to spread it as much as possible to the rest of the African countries and even to the diaspora, if that is the case.
Yeah, of course, that is it. In fact, to spread Black consciousness and Pan-Africanism the world over, not just across the African continent, but to the world over, because as the name suggests, it is not African paradise. We say black
Black
paradise. And
paradise.
black the black man during days of slavery was dispersed globally. You understand? So
That is
you
it.
go to Indonesia and we have blacks there. You come to America, the West Indies, India, China, Japan, and even mainstream Europe. Black people are scattered all over the world. And we as a people, we must find one umbrella under which we can stand as one people, even though we are far away apart.
Great.
You understand?
Great.
So that is what Black Paradise seeks to do. In fact, we have started like this, but we hope that with time it shall spread. Just as it started in Ghana, now we can call Black Paradise members in Sierra Leone, as I mentioned, in Zimbabwe, in the Zambia, Kenya, Nigeria, and all of that. So we are in business.
Great. 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 Okay, let's move to the matter for the day proper. The independence of Ghana. How do you think the feeling was like for people who experienced slavery and experienced independence at the same time? How do you think the feeling will be like for such people?
Well, the feeling will always be great, but let us preamble it with pre-colonial Africa.
Sure.
But before colonialism, there came slavery. Before, the 1800s, the 19th century, where Muzungu decided that, look, let me carve this land amass, which is Africa, for myself. They carved it among themselves, their relatives, and all of that. So we are a tribal people that we can't run away from. So there was no definite country as in Nigeria, as in Zambia, Zimbabwe, and all of that. We were just a tribal people. So you come to our landmass, we had kingdoms and empires. So Ethiopia, like this, the whole of the Ethiopia area was an empire controlled by an emperor. So we had Emperor Menelik, Emperor Johannes, then came Haile Selassie and all of that. Then you come to this landmass called Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
Our tribes, we had kingdoms, the Dagomba, the Dagbanis, the Akan, the Asante kingdom, the Achim, the Gonja, and all of that. Mm-hmm. So we had these scattered kingdoms led by their kings. And we know of Osei-Tutu of Asante. We can talk of Ndebra Jakpa of Gonja. We can talk of Nagbewa of Dagomba. These were separate kingdoms who were running things as it is. We go to Benin, Dahomey. We had the Dahomey kingdom ruled by, famous kings and queens. You go to the landmass of Nigeria, we had the Benin kingdom, which is today Edo. Beautiful cities like that. So that is how and who we were before slavery and colonialism came. Then in 1844, when Europeans decided to carve our landmass called Africa for themselves, now they boxed everything together. So it was these pieces of spaces they carved for themselves that they came into rule. And it was so unfortunate for us as that you go to say Volta region or Western Togoland, the Togoland, the German Togoland, that was a portion for the Germans. You go there and you realize that, look, they didn't take into cognizance that, look, these are a tribal people, and so we should put them together. So you have Ewe people in Ghana, you see Ewe people in Togo, and now we set ourselves together because of that artificial border, the 1844 how do we call it, that carving of our landmass brought.
Mm.
We call it the partitioning of Africa.
Okay.
That what that partition brought. You go to our western enclave, western region, you see just across the border, you see people speaking. How do we call it? They are the same tribes people. In Zima, people across the border, they call themselves Ivorians. You just across the border, in Zima people, but we are made to believe that look, we are no more one people because of an artificial partition which happened to us. So those were some of the unfortunate things which happened as a result of the partitioning of Africa. So the Gold Coast had its fair share, and as it is, the Gold Coast comprised just a few landmass. Ashanti wasn't part. The whole of Ashanti was they were unable to subdue it until the 1900s, until I think 1898 thereabout into 1900 when Asantewaa fell at the hands of the British. So Asante was more or less a protectorate. The Dagomba and the Moli Dagbani Kingdom was also a protectorate, but the real Gold Coast was the Ga, the Fanti areas, and then the Achim areas. Those were and then the along the Volta, just across the Volta. That was basically the Gold Coast. So in the
okay, continue, please.
Yeah, so in the incidents which brought about the struggle for independence, which most of them are known, the 1848 riots, the shooting of the veterans, the war veterans, the formation of the UGCC and all of that. In fact, education went on and people became fed up that, look, why should we own our land and people from far away land come control our resources and all of that? Unfortunately, we began getting elites who understood what was happening.
Yes.
So you are being controlled by a queen you have never even set eyes on. Your queens and kings have been turned into something. Your kingdoms have now been undermined. And now they've given the whole of our landmass a name in the name of Gold Coast.
Wow.
So that was what it was. That was what it was. But when the awakening came that there should be independence, we had forerunners. The UGCC, notably the Big Six, other players and all of that. Then coming forward, all these protectorates which fell under the British Empire.
Okay.
We all came together, decided that, look, when Nkrumah and his CPP came in, we said that, look, we should have independence. It was a great call. And so it happened. The independence eventually happened on the 6th of March 1957. Now, we created a new state called Ghana. As I said, the Gold Coast did not comprise a lot of the landmass. So it was after 57 that, look, we had Ghana. Now Western Togoland became part. All the protectorates were opened up to become part of Ghana, and all the other portions. So Ghana became a whole. The map now became a whole.
Right.
Now, yeah. So so that will be it for the preamble.
Now,
yeah.
to the question proper, and to reiterate it again, I was asking for people who has been in the struggle, for people who has actually seen the struggle, you understand, and the pain of colonization, transitioning into independence, and the thoughts of being able to run their own things, the thought of coming back to be ruled if that is the case, to be ruled by their own people who understand them, how do you think the feeling was like for such people who experience these two different lives?
So this is very evident in the videos you and I see on the television whenever they are played.
Sure.
You realize that the people went gay.
Nice.
That look, now we own our land. And as Nkrumah said, we prefer self-government to servitude in tranquility. We prefer self-government in danger to servitude in tranquility. You get it? Yeah.
Nice.
So it goes a long way to tell you what actually it was supposed to mean for us as a people. Because look,
Right.
this thing goes down to affect even your soul and your being,
Sure.
to be controlled, to be turned into more or less, as it is, a slave, servitude, where classism, you are a mere, how do we call it, subject, subordinate, and I am what, and I am this, and that, the isms and the schisms in there. So the question will best be answered by the state of the people at the time of independence.
And
The
the
way they went
expression,
there.
and the
Yeah, the
expression we can
expression, the
see,
feeling, yeah. If
because
they opposed it, it would have been evident.
of course,
But their feeling at the time suggests, and their participation in the elections, the pre-elections, as in 1951, 1954, then on the final independence, 1957, the participation of the people, the way the people came out to vote in 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 uh, in support of the process to affirm their support for the independence.
yes, the
You
independence
understand?
now.
Yes. So it was like, oh, we are fed up. 100 years is enough for you to have ruled. And 1957 meant 103 years of colonialism, British colonialism.
Wow.
So the people felt, the people at the time felt that, look, it was enough, and so you should move. Now we will rule ourselves and define our state, control our resources, how we will it. So that is what happened then.
100 years. 100 years is a lot of time.
Yeah, of course, it's a century.
It means there were people who were giving birth during colonization and passed in the same period. Because
Oh, of
100
course,
years
of course.
is
For
wow.
all we know, if we may even care to know, it will happen that in 1844, there was no 1844 candidate, anybody born in 1844 who might have even witnessed 1957.
Sure.
Well, it was possible. It was most of the people were dead and gone. You understand? So a century-long colonialism was a century-long thing. You understand?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it was a process, and it wasn't an event, but a process. So people go, people come. The institution still was alive and active.
Sure.
And there were several, we hear of the famous, such as McCarthy and all of that, until the noble clerks and all of that, the Gorgesbergs and the noble clerks. You understand? Most of them who controlled the fortunes of our country in 1844, in the 1800s, did not live to see 1970, but it was a process.
It was a process, of course.
Yes, a continuous mechanism.
Sure.
And so, whether alive or not, and it was not even the Queen Elizabeth who granted independence. She was not even the one who instituted it. But because it was a process, she had to come to allow independence to happen. Yeah. So our people had every reason to go gay, because now you see yourself being in charge of your resources and your states.
Sure. All right. So we've all heard, and as history has it, that after Ghana's independence in 1957, it actually ignited, the zeal for other African countries to seek this independence. The likes of Benin in the following year, 1958, and then by 1960, a whole 17 African nations has also have also um, acquired um, or had independence, which is a year that was referred to as the African Year or the Year of Africa. How do you think the independence of Ghana? Do you think the independence of Ghana actually was like the ignition for all these things, for all these nations to think that, yo, now it is time, it has been done, right? Maybe we were just thinking about it, right? Maybe we were in the process and we did not know when actually was the right time, and Ghana has done it. Do you think Ghana's independence is truly an ignition for the rest of the African countries that had independence just after um, the independence of Ghana in 1957?
Okay, thank you. Surely it was. You know, the problem was that the problem with, the colonies and the natives was that a lot of things had happened during colonization.
Sure.
A lot of the cultures had been submerged into something else. And so we did not have the power. Most of our countries, most of the colonies, the natives had become a defeated people mentally. And so the way and manner to go about this was even a problem. It is not just peculiar to the landmass of Africa, but to all colonies around the world,
Sure.
to all struggling people around the world, in the Caribbean, in Asia, and all of that. It was seemingly a case of no direction as to how to go about this to overcome colonization, colonialism, and imperialism. So when the awakening call came, and it happened in Ghana, you realize that it is said that then Ghana became the political mecca of all struggling states
Sure.
around the world.
Sure.
So every freedom fighter had to come to Ghana.
Sure.
And they did not come for excursion. They came to seek knowledge as to how to go about the fight against colonialism, the fight for independence. So look, even the Americans, the civil rights activists, it was just an activism, but they needed a headway. So
Sure.
Ghana's independence, even for the activists in America, Luther King, Malcolm X, the Stokely Carmichaels, and all of such and such people, they had to come to Ghana, and it wasn't for just excursion, but to seek mentorship into how to deal with colonialism and imperialism as it is everywhere. And the formula does not change. It is so everywhere. So they all came here. So Mandela and his cohorts, the ANC, who belonged to the ANC, had to come to Ghana to seek political mentorship from Nkrumah. The America Cabral of Equatorial Guinea, not Equatorial Guinea, but Guinea-Bissau, and then Cape Verde. America was establishing a bay on our landmass, Ghana, in Ghana, to fight his guerrilla warfare. In fact, there were training camps for guerrilla the guerrilla fighters across Africa. Famously, Mugabe, even himself, was in Ghana, trained and understudied Nkrumah to be able to go into the fight for independence for then Rhodesia, today Zimbabwe.
Wow.
1958 was the year Nkrumah's friend, the Guineans, Guinea Conakry,
Guinea, right.
Toure.
Right.
Yeah. I was about to mention his grandfather's name. Sekou Toure. Sekou Toure, we know, was very close to Nkrumah. And so Sekou Toure, after Nkrumah gained independence for Ghana, the following year, Guinea followed suit.
Sure.
So Ghana, the independence of Ghana became a mentorship something for all freedom fighters across Africa and the globe. And famously, Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore lived and stayed in Ghana during independence into the 1960s. And right after leaving Ghana and studying our processes, he entered Singapore, and the fight for independence started. And he became president of Singapore. And the principle is what has raised Singapore to what it is today.
Wow.
Yes, so it influenced very much a lot. And the fact that independence Ghana gave money, released money to all other freedom fighters.
Wow.
In support of the fight against colonialism and the fight for independence.
Nice. I was coming to this expenditure, this this expenditure by the then president, the first president of the land of Ghana, and the accusations that came along that the man was using the resources of Ghana, on other African countries. You always have opposition for whatever good thing you have to do, or for whatever good thing you do. Um, is it worth it? For the president, the first president of the Republic of Ghana, um, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, to, as it was, make sure that for Ghana alone to be independent and say, oh, Ghana, we are independent, so we are going to sit down and relax and watch our fellow Africans, our fellow colonies, as it was, to go through their own struggle and fight alone. Um, is it worth that he used the resources of Ghana, or Ghana's resources, then to help, to assist, to make sure that at least a lot more African countries will have their independence, and had a vision that for Africa, for Ghana to say we are independent, it has to, it has to have a relation with a total independence of Africa, the African continent. Is it worth it? Those actions that he took, those decisions that he took, is it worth it towards African unity?
Yeah, so when in 1947-48, when Nkrumah was returning from the US, Nkrumah's vision and ideology was not a matter of just independence for Ghana,
Sure.
but the total liberation of Africa and the African continent.
Great.
So that was Nkrumah's utmost vision. And so when he was coming, he came along with Padmore and Dubois to help in achieving that target.
Okay.
So even though Nkrumah will speak of Ghana at certain point in time. Always the talk had been Africa, Africa. And in declaring independence, the man said, look, our independence will be meaningless unless it is linked to the total liberation of the African continent.
Exactly.
This was a proclamation he made, but we thought it was a mere speech. In fact, he didn't even carry paper to make this. So it means he spoke deep from within his heart.
Sure.
That, look, this is me. That, look, we have gained independence, but our independence today, 6th March 1957, is meaningless until the whole of the African continent gains independence. And independence does not lie in the casting of lots and the just proclamation, but we need to work towards it. Now he said what? It will be meaningless until the whole of the African continent is what? Free. I wouldn't even go much into it, but listen, right after independence, after becoming a republic, we marched on to industrialize. Okay. Do you think if we were to be producing cars, Europeans will have bought our cars? Do you think that will have happened?
I don't think so.
Fine. So it meant that our cars wouldn't have just been used by us. In an economy, I mean, you need to produce, sell to other people, gain some exchange, and then we move on. You get it? So with what Nkrumah was doing, I support you, I benefit from you, then we grow together.
Sure.
We become self-sufficient as a people.
Of course.
You understand?
Of course.
US was not as in United States of America. It was just scattered states, just as you have Ghana, Togo, Benin, Nigeria, Cameroon, Congo, and all of that. But when they started a unity, the United States, and they started with just 3 states. And look at who they are, a powerful nation. So that is what Nkrumah sought to do. That, look, let us gain independence, let us unite, and also be able to compete. You understand? Because, look, competition even has to do with numbers.
Sure.
And as I told you, this was Nkrumah's vision. It might not be the vision of other people of the landmass, people who did not think beyond the 1960s, people who did not think beyond just their tribes and resources they think belongs to their tribes.
Great.
That is what happened. But look, let us imagine if Africa had taken the opportunity to unite under the support of Nkrumah, the resources he pumped into it. Imagine what Africa would have been. And this man was not selfish to his clan or his tribesmen or his community, his hometown in Krofu where he came from. It was about emancipation, the spiritual emancipation, and the effect it will have had on us as a people. China today now is a force to reckon because of its landmass and its population. India is now a force to reckon with because of its landmass and the population.
Sure.
America has become a force due to the unity it's forged with 53 good states. Africa today we are 54, and we say we cannot unite. China was a scattered landmass. But until 1949, under the leadership of Chairman Mao of the Communist Party, united all fighting forces to stand up for a purpose. Today, they are a force to reckon with.
So the vision that Dr. Nkrumah had concerning African unity, it was a great cause.
Of course, it was a great cause. There was no thought of selfishness in this man. In fact, he didn't even think Accra to be even capital of. He personally mentioned that, look, We could find, if we decide, we could find a place in Central Africa, somewhere Kinshasa, Congo. You understand? Congo, Kinshasa, thereabout, and create a capital, forge a capital for ourselves. We could have also, I mean, people said, and one of the propaganda where he wanted to make himself president of Africa and all of that. You know, there were senior candidates senior and more experienced candidates in Jamal Abdel Nasser of how do we call it, of Egypt, who was senior to him, whose country was more advanced and had resources than we had. We could talk of His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie, who had ruled from 1930 until Nkrumah's time, when Nkrumah even became independent. These were senior to him, and he was just a young man. And so he was only calling for that, look, let us have it done. Then we can think of who to even become this, let us agree in principle and get a secretariat to begin work on it. It was certainly going to be a process. But the forces, and he mentioned that, look, the forces arrayed against what he was thinking about were formidable and powerful. Knowing very well that, look, if these people should unite and become one, it will be a jeopardy to the West, to the Western bloc, and to imperialism in general, as in ideology and in principle. Sure. Africa's unity will have been will have put imperialism in jeopardy. Sure. Because now you can't easily come and siphon resources. You can't easily come and then and dictate as it is today to our leadership, because we are a formidable force. You get it? You can't go to China and tell Xi as to what he should do with his people and his resources. No. He does what, you understand? Yeah. But today we sit here and we think we are good in the state in which we find ourselves. That a small country like France and all of that sits as it is where they are and dictate to the whole of Africa. Is that what we wish for?
Of course not. So he was aware. He was aware that whatever his vision was, in as much as it can come into reality, he was also aware that there were forces that were going to work through propaganda and through other means, great forces that as it is, we've witnessed over time, use tactics to try and paint him put him in such a light that some people, some of us will try to turn against him and see him rather as a bad person. He was aware.
Oh yes, he was very much aware. And all of this, he did mention it. He did mention it. So today people call Nkrumah a prophet and all of that. No, it is like putting one here. You know that, look, its results will be true. You get it? Sure. And even though there wasn't much of precedence, but this was a learned man, a philosopher of a great standard, who has studied the past civilization. And in this world, when you learn to some extent, you realize that no, there is nothing new. Everything is recycled and brought back to us. Yes, and so he knew the repercussion of whatever he was doing. He knew that, look, imperialism will always find a way to come back at you if you should stand in its way. That was why he was in a haste. That, look, if it is not now, tomorrow we might not live to see even tomorrow to talk about whether good or nonsense, to talk about it. You get it?
Sure.
Just around that time, that was when the coups were happening. In fact, Lumumba was the first casualty. He went away. Nigeria had a coup and all of that. Then there was a beginning of a mess up. Now, the OAU, or whichever union, which was supposed to represent what unity was to be about, was now beginning to be infiltrated with reactionaries. You understand? Now we had the Mobutus, the General Gawans, who were pro-American support groups and all of that. So if it was infiltrated and on and on and on and on. Today we call it African Union, and it has become something else. You get it? So Nkrumah was way aware that, look, this is it. This was the replication. But if what I am pushing for happens, then now the replication cannot move beyond the walls of the Mediterranean. You get it?
Wow, nice one. Patachi, before we let go of you, um, in summary, the way forward, for Ghana, for Africans, how can we reflect on the on the past, right? Because it is when we know where we are coming from, of course, that is when we can be able to determine our path and where we are going. What do you think we can do for the way forward, for our development, for us to keep in mind our Africanism, to keep in mind that the black man's brother is the black man, and most importantly for me, the development of Africa. What is the way forward before we let go of you?
Yeah, so Nkrumah rightly said that, look, seek ye first the political kingdom, and all other things shall follow.
Sure.
So it was experimented, and we didn't give it chance in the 1960s. We flopped it. People thought that, oh, let us go and develop our separate, countries and then come back. So you realize that when the Gaddafis and other freedom fighters came, Gaddafi came with economic emancipation and all of that without thinking of the political kingdom. And we saw how the end result was. So I would say that, look, for the way forward, it still lies in the past. So we must revisit the past, as in Sankofa.
Sure.
The tenet of, because you see, after right from 1960s, the 1963, when the first call was made, one of the opposing sides, one of the strong men who belonged to the opposition was Mwalimu Nyerere of Tanzania. In 1997, he visited Ghana. He was the guest of honor during Ghana's 40th independence anniversary. He admitted that, look, he was wrong, Nkrumah was right, and that the way forward for Africa is for a united Africa. When he had become old and had no power, that was when and we seem to have thrown his word to the dust, just as he did to Nkrumah. That, look, the way for he was wrong for opposing Nkrumah. And then Nkrumah was right. That, look, the way forward for Africa, for the development of the African and for the African continent, and even the diaspora African, is African unity. Our independence, today we wake up, we say independence. Nkrumah said, look, it is meaningless until we are all free. You get it?
And as it stands now, it's not just freedom from the shackles of the hand, but mentally as well.
Yes, mentally. That is what neocolonialism brought to us. Mental colonialism. I wouldn't say mental slavery, because slavery is dead, past, and gone. But our minds have been shackled.
Sure.
You understand? Through propaganda and social engineering, which is still putting us in a state of defeat. And that is what we must admit, that, look, as it stands today, the African is not dead, sleeping. We are a defeated people by every standard. And so we do not wear African, we do not eat African, we do not sleep, we do everything European, because we are a defeated people. We are a defeated people. And for us to wake up, then we must organize, reorganize, and come as one.
Mhm.
unite for a common purpose. We may disagree on everything, but on a common goal, we must be able to come together and stand as one. In unity, after that, we can think of whatever to do. Unity is the way forward for Africa. Thank you very much.
So there is hope. There is hope, right? There is
Of
hope
course,
because what we are, our focus is right now is what we can do, right? If there is
sure.
hope, if there is an iota of hope that we can, the emancipation is possible.
Of course, emancipation is very much possible. It is all not lost. Because look, even though a lot of the masses have been swayed mentally to think of other things, to think of pressures of life brought to us by capitalism and neoliberalism, is hitting the African heart today, and so you can't think of anything for reasons of bread and butter. But there are, I would say, a handful of us who are still keen on absolute freedom for Africa and Africans home and abroad.
Sure.
And that is the hope that we have. That look, through an organization like even Black Paradise, at least we are reaching out to young people, young and old alike,
Sure.
to bring their minds to that look, we can still reach far, and Africa's independence is still achievable.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Okatachi Menu, for your time. Hopefully, you give us once more of this um, timeless voice again, right?
Okay, it's my pleasure. My pleasure always.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Great, great.